Hey, y'all, we're back. We interrupt this program to bring you a wonderful call. A wonderful call. What are we going to talk about today? Winging it.
At times I've been a bit farther out, lost, looking, wondering about, like I forgot what he's already done for me in the days that are already gone. No grasp what Christ did at Calvary, erase my faults, redirected my destiny. Help me remember my Lord, to be a light as you're a light. Let me reflect the Son of God, a silhouette, so you're never in your light. Peace, hope, joy, and love.
Hey, we're not going to talk a lot about that song. In fact, I'm going to turn it down back here. Turn it down so it's not interrupting me. We're talking about winging it today. Speaking of winging it, let me let you know something. There's been an intense period of spiritual warfare going on lately. I don't know if you're aware of it. Now, I'm not just talking about things you may see, out there in the stratosphere of United States politics or anything like that. Well, I'm not only talking about things that may be coming against you financially. I'm not only talking about things that may be manifesting themselves by, that's what I mean by coming against, manifesting themselves as misunderstandings or things that you don't necessarily comprehend. Like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? There are things in place to keep this from happening. I just want to let you know something. It's not a surprise for the believer, not a surprise for the follower, not a surprise whatsoever for the disciple of Christ. And I want to tell you that it has something to do with this idea of winging it. You ever heard somebody say that? Oh, I'm just out here. How you doing? Oh, I'm winging it. You ever feel like you're barely getting by? Maybe you've got this feeling that somehow you'll make it, but you just don't know exactly how. Well, let's see what winging it looks like for a disciple of Christ. And come with me to the Old Testament writing in the book of Isaiah chapter 40. And a few minutes after that, we'll go over to the New Testament, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, for further reinforcements. Winging it. What is winging it? What does it look like? I just want to begin to read to you in Isaiah chapter 40, the Old Testament book, Isaiah chapter 40, verse 26. Let me just... you know what? Let's go all the way back to verse 12. We've got the time, right? As long as the Lord delays his return while I'm doing this, we've got the time. Subheading in my New Living Translation. In fact, I use what you call a devotional Bible. This devotional Bible, I don't know if you can see, you probably can't see. It says Every Man's Bible right there. This is what my wife got me for our wedding present to each other. We gave each other a Bible, a really good Bible. This is a devotion called Every Man's Bible. It's a New Living Translation. It has like a lot of topical commentaries and devotional type stuff in it as well. Most of which I haven't really looked into and shared here, but I will say this. Everything that I've read in here is in here, so eventually it will come out, right? Chapter 40 of Isaiah again, verse 12. Who else has held the ocean in his hand? Who has measured off the heavens with his fingers? Who else knows the weight of the earth or has weighed the mountains and hills on a scale? Who is able to advise the Spirit of the Lord? Who knows enough to give him advice or teach him? Has the Lord ever needed anyone's advice? Does he need instruction about what is good? Did someone teach him what is right or show him the path of justice? No, for all nations of the world are but a drop. Oh, there it is. A drop in the bucket. They are nothing more than dust on the scales. Brush it off. He picks up the whole earth as though it were a grain of sand. Wow. Verse 16, all the woods in Lebanon's forest and all Lebanon's animals would not be enough to make a burnt offering worthy of our God. The nations of the world are worth nothing to him. In his eyes, they count for less than nothing. Mere emptiness and froth. To whom can you compare God? What image can you find to resemble him? Can he be compared to an idol formed in a mold, overlaid with gold and decorated with silver chains? Or if people are too poor for that, they might at least choose wood that won't decay, and a skilled craftsman to carve an image that won't fall down. Verse 21, haven't you heard? Don't you understand? Are you deaf to the words of God? The words he gave before the world began? Wow, he's rapping. He says, are you so ignorant? God sits above the circle of the earth, and the people below seem like grasshoppers to him. He spreads out the heavens like a curtain and makes his tent from them. He judges the great people of the world and brings them all to nothing. They hardly get started, barely taking root, when he blows on them and they wither. The wind carries them off like chaff. To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal? Asked the Holy One. Look up to the heavens. Who created all the stars? It's a question. He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each by its name. Because of his great power and incomparable strength, not a single one is missing. Oh, Jacob, which is, remember, the word Jacob, name Jacob, was changed to Israel. Oh, Jacob, how can you say the Lord does not see your troubles? Oh, Israel, same person, same nation. Oh, Israel, how can you say God ignores your rights? Have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings as eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. How you doing here lately? Oh, I'm winging it. Wait a minute. For the believer, for the follower, for the disciple of Christ, maybe winging it could mean what that verse says. It might mean, hey, I trust in the Lord. Oh, come on, get some joy in your heart about this one. I trust in the Lord, so then I'll find new strength. I will soar high on wings like eagles. I will run and not grow weary. I will walk and not faint. I'm just winging it. You know, there's something about an eagle that I'm sure you may have heard this. You may not have heard this, but I want to just share it with you really quickly. When an eagle is being attacked by another thing in the area it is in, let's just start with another bird in the air. When another bird is being territorial and trying to mess with an eagle and get it out of its territory, all the eagle does to defeat this foe is simply go higher and higher and higher. But see, an eagle can go to altitude and heights that other birds cannot. Eventually, that thing that's pestering at the eagle falls away. Think about that when you're thinking about those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. Yeah, I'm just winging it. I'm rising above. I'm soaring high in the Lord, right? I run and I don't grow weary. What does that mean? I keep on going even though it's a thing that involves effort. I keep running. Paul talks about, and I'm not really reading that portion today, but Paul talks about, I run the race. I have run my race. I have fought the good fight, right? And it says they will walk and not faint. What does walk indicate? Well, running may indicate stamina if you run and don't faint, but walking, or running and not growing weary, but walking and not fainting, to me that indicates stability. It means I can stay on course, right? I can do what I need to do. And that whole idea there, maybe sometimes when a believer, when a follower, when a disciple of Christ says, I'm winging it, maybe this is what they mean. Boy, I'd like to get that in my soul, right? Yeah, I'm winging it. I'm winging it. I'm winging it. I'm rising above. I'm going above everything else. You know, one of the other things that an eagle does, let's say an eagle happens to be on the ground, and let's say what it's trying to get is also being sought after by another animal like a snake. Maybe the eagle's coming down to grab some other rodent or some other small animal so it can feed its babies up in the nest, or just maybe needs a meal himself or herself, and a snake is involved. What do they do when the snake tries to fight them? First of all, eagles are smart enough to grab near the base of the neck at the head, and then they reach over to the other part of the snake's body, and what do? The eagle rises up, rises up, rises up, and when the snake is fighting, as the eagle's going up into the air, and the eagle's fighting and fighting and fighting, and it goes higher and higher and higher, the eagle knows, at this point, once I reach this elevation, I just let go of that snake, and it falls to its own demise. See this verse? You might want to say you're winging it. See, this verse says they will soar high on wings like eagles. Wow. That could be something that could really encourage you, right? If you begin to think about it in that way. I want to look at the other verse that I was going to say is kind of like a reinforcement on this today. And I'm going over to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. And I just want to read something that Paul was writing about. He was writing about the overall concept of a good fight. The fact that we are fragile clay jars. The fact that we have treasure inside of us, but the fact that, we have good news, and the good news could be hidden, and if it's hidden to the lost. In other words, hey, don't lose sight, don't lose focus of the reason we do this. And he's writing to the church at Corinth, right? A lot of Paul's epistles, living letters, are written to the initial recipients, but they are also for us. I kind of go over that a lot when I'm doing these, because I want people to understand that I can't necessarily hold you to a standard that I, fail to realize and remember that I've had this training and teaching. So if you're watching this for the first time, this is why I go into it a little bit and give it more background. Paul wrote letters to the churches that he was the apostle, which means church founder, church builder of. One of them was the church in Corinth. In the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, toward the end, he's talking about things that will encourage them and things that should encourage them. And just in verse 16 through the final verse in the chapter, verse 18, he says, "That is why we never give up. Though our bodies are dying, our spirits are being renewed every day. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long. Yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them," the troubles, "and will last forever." Verse 18, "So we don't look at the troubles we can see now. Rather, we fix our gaze on the things that cannot be seen. For the things we see now will soon be gone, and the things we cannot see will last forever." It sounds a lot to me like Paul had something in his spirit. Of course he knew Isaiah. Of course, as somebody who was one of the religious leaders of his day, known as a Pharisee, somebody who had religious right and birthright and genealogy right, bloodline right, to be a teacher of religion, a teacher of the law that was given by Moses and all those scriptures that came along, including the prophets such as Isaiah. Of course Paul had down in his soul, in his spirit, an understanding that winging it, when looked at biblically, is not a bad thing at all. He is encouraging us to keep on keeping on. And I just love the writings of Isaiah. I love all the things that are there prophetically that speak of things to come and speak of ultimately the body of Christ, and really challenge Israel in its origin state, and not too long after it was really permanently established. When you look at the great scheme of things, it encourages them and challenges them to make sure they understand. Do you get it? He says things like, "Haven't you heard?" He says, "Don't you understand?" He says things like, "Look up to the heavens. Who created the stars? He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each by its name." God knows. God knows your situation. God knows everything you're going through. And maybe you should try winging it. You didn't think of it that way, did you?
Let me reflect the Son of God, a silhouette to your never-ending light. Peace, hope, joy, and love everlasting. Saved, ungrateful child like me. Simple faith is all that you're asking. You break chains and set captives free. Deserve much,
But you accept small in life, y'all.
let me feel the light. Let me reflect
The Son of God. Hey, y'all. Love y'all. Y'all have a good one. Hey, try winging it. Try remembering who he is. Soar. Rise up high on wings of eagles. You can do it.
You deserve much, but you accept small. Acts of believing is payment in full.
Because you already paid it all. So I cast my shadow on every wall. Everywhere I go and in every way. All my days, Jesus, I give you praise.
Walk close to the light.
Cast your shadow.